that's not what I cover. That's not my expertise. I can't teach you that stuff because it's not my thing, right? However, I am very interested to know on what happens to my cash. This all comes from two things, actually. I was sitting on an airplane and I realized, like, I was coming back from an event, and at the event I was intrigued at how much I could learn from somebody who just sat down and decided to just teach me, in comparison to how long it takes for me to just buy books, right? Or courses or podcasts or whatever, right? And then go through them manually. That sucks. Like, it's nice. Like, I'm not saying not to do it, right? But it's ultimately the longer path. And so I was sitting on this airplane and I was flying back home from this event that I was at, and I had this realization, like, I should just hire. Like, what if I could just hire some people to come in and just teach me, and that's it, right? And so I went in and I started saying, like, well, I'm just going to go and I'm just going to find the right people in the different functions of business that I'm not an expert in to go and teach me, right? And so I get off the airplane and I go and I talk to the guy who is actually in control of teaching me finance strategy, right? And I said, hey, would you just teach me? And we spent the next 4 hours just deep diving on a few things. And he's actually my coach, my finance coach. This also comes from me watching and observing a lot of other entrepreneurs who make a lot of cash and they're successful and they're big names, but actually behind the scenes and in their personal finances, they're broke, right? And I was like, that sucks. And I don't want to be that way, right? Or I'll see that they start trying to be like, I want you to pay as little taxes as possible legally, right? Ethically, morally. Right, but like they go, and because they're not experts in it, they handle their own tax strategy on their own, and then they go and they get in trouble with the IRS and own the IRS forever. And I've seen so many people do that. It's hard enough to get a freaking business off the ground, let alone try to go navigate all that stuff afterwards. So I don't even try to do that. I'm just telling you right now, I actually go and I just hire people, and I think through. Okay, just teach me. Okay, now that you taught me, just go do it for me, please. Right? Now, the guy that I go and I listen to explicitly on my finance stuff is actually Brad Gibb. And that's who I've brought on today, and I'm excited to bring him on. We're going to cue the intro, then we'll go over there to the interview itself. But I just wanted to intro him. I have profound respect for him. The things that I have learned from him. I'm a geek. I am a nerd around the topic of finance and like what to do with it. I love listening to those books. I'm a Robert Kiyosaki fanboy. That guy also changed my life, and I want to just listen to those people who will be the most influential, right? Without me having to go be an expert in everything, because it's impossible. So I only listen to, like, I have a marketing coach. It's Russell, right? I've got a systems coach. It's Alex Sharfin, right? I've got a sales coach. It's Myron Golden. And I've got a finance coach, right? And between them, like, I will easily pay like well over 100 to maybe like almost 150 grand. In fact, there's one other person which I'll keep kind of hush hush for right now. But it's like 150 grand that I'll spend this year on my personal coaching. And it's so funny when someone's like, I won't spend this amount of money for you to come teach me this, Steve, or be in your program. And I'm like, you are definitely not a fit then, because I am willing to pay for results personally. You know what I mean? So I go and I pay, and it's much faster results as opposed to me trying to learn it all. And so OfferMind, what's cool about OfferMind is it's my coaches coming to teach you, which is very exciting. Anyway, so I thought it'd be cool to bring on Brad Gibb and for him to walk through what he's actually going to talk about. OfferMind is not about funnels, and it is about offers, but it's about offers in the context of, let's learn cash flow strategies, right? Let's learn cash flow tactics. And funny enough, that is actually the name of Brad's company. And so anyway, I'm actually going to bring him on right now, and he's going to walk through some very key things that new and existing entrepreneurs can and should be doing to be able to go through and protect their cash. Disclaimer, I am not your financial person. This is not your financial show. This is not your, okay, this probably won't work for you, X, Y, and Z, whatever. Everyone feel disclaimed? All right, cool. Let's cue the intro, and I'm excited to bring on Brad Gibb. Brad Gibb has been one of the guys who's taught me probably the most about actual business, the actual underneath the hood, how it works, why I should be doing what I am, stop doing some things that I am, and has actually altered a lot of the things that I sell and actually my personal finances, the way we run everything. It's given structure to the numbers behind the scenes, and I've just so much appreciated everything he's done. I'm excited to invite him onto this podcast and bring him on. And he is actually going to be one of the speakers at OfferMind, which is very exciting. OfferMind, day number 2 is my coaches. So day number 1, I'm going to coach. And the day number 2 is all the people that I actually reach up and gain wisdom from. Foremost on that list is definitely Brad Gibb. Thanks for coming to Sales Funnel Radio.
Hey, Stephen, appreciate you having me on, man. Massive honor. I love working with you. And yes, I'm a professional cat herder because I try to get entrepreneurs to do all the things that they don't want to do, but that are amazing and really transform and can take you to the next level. So I'm excited to be here.
Well, you're crazy good at it. And just for those people who don't really know what you do, could you just let them know?
So it is kind of a catch-all, but we're basically money coaches for the world of entrepreneurs. Because what we found in our journey, which I'll probably share a little bit about that here in a second, but we found that what happens to an entrepreneur is we do everything the exact opposite of what we're told, right? At some point, whether it was in school, whether it was at your job, whether it was an internship, like at some point we were like, wait a minute, I don't fit in this world and I'm going to go over here and play a totally different game, right? And then when we're successful in that other game and we ask people, well, what should I do like with my taxes and with money and with my investing? They try to put you back in the box that you just left and said, oh, you should do all the things that all the employees are doing with their money, right? And it ends up sabotaging what you're actually trying to do in this other box. And there is an entirely different world of finance that mimics and mirrors and supports you as an entrepreneur. But unfortunately, just like everything is a product and everything has an intended audience, right? So the finance world is a product, but it's aimed, 97% of that advice is aimed at the employee. And so for you, 97% of financial advice is either dangerous, misleading, or just outright wrong because you play a different game. So that's what we teach you is the game that you're actually in from a money, taxes, structure, and even just the mindset, the way we think and feel about money. That's what we do.
It's a huge deal. I remember the first time I went and I made 50 grand from this thing that I was doing. I was so excited about it. I was like, this is great. It was one of the first big wins. And I remember paying 46% taxes on that thing. And I was like, what? This is ridiculous. And I got so mad. I was like, Uncle Stab, and it wasn't a 6-figure check yet, but it was my first big taste of like, man, I got to learn this or I will literally not keep much of what I actually make after business costs and everything else. Like it's not going to be much. And then I started diving more deeply in and realized like there really truly are secrets that are ethical, that are moral, that you can use to actually keep money and set up a real good life for yourself.
And our 2 goals, we want to increase your financial IQ because no one's going to come save you. No one's going to care more about your money than you do. And ultimately, like while we're raising our marketing IQ, we're raising our sales IQ, we're raising our system IQ, rarely does the entrepreneur work to really raise their money and finance IQ, right? Mm-hmm. That's our job, is to make sure that's leveling up with the rate of growth you're experiencing in all other areas, right? Stephen, you and I have talked about this a bunch, like business is like the ultimate personal development tool, right? We don't do that on the money side. So we upgrade your financial IQ. And the goal of that is to empower you in the conversation of money. So as you enter these conversations with accountants, attorney, investments, what do I do with this capital? And you start to make decisions that have lots of dollar signs next to them, you're empowered in how to make those decisions. That's our ultimate outcome for the entrepreneur.
It's massive stuff. And how did you get started on this? Like you said, us entrepreneurs are kind of like herding cats. So yeah, I'm sure there's like a love-hate relationship with it.
Absolutely. So I'm a super nerd. And I love my spreadsheets and I would just like sit with them all day long if I could. But if we rewind the clock, like I always liked money. I always liked those conversations. And so being the super nerd that I am, following the traditional advice that I was told, I thought if 1 degree was good, 4 would be better. So I got an undergrad in accounting, I got a master's in accounting. And then I was the guy that went to summer school, not to graduate faster, but so I could like do all this other stuff that I want to do. So I got a degree in economics and a degree in statistics. So like I was like, I got everything I need, right? And
it's so awesome.
And I loved it. Like I was this close to being like getting a PhD in accounting. That's how much I loved numbers and studying. But luckily something deep down inside me told me that just wasn't going to be a good fit. So upon graduation, I joined Goldman Sachs. Don't hold that against me. It is the evil empire, and I understand that. I was in the belly of the beast. But the amazing part about that experience was I was downtown New York in 2008. And for those that don't understand what went on in 2008, like the world almost exploded and everything was melting down, and I had a front row seat to it. And it really was like the beginning of my awareness of there are things that I learned, but application and what's going on in the real world is like completely different, right? And that's where, after a very short time seeing what was going on, it was one of those things where I had a Jerry Maguire moment of like, I can't be here. I can't be part of this. I've got to get out. And so I leveraged some contacts that I had there and started a consulting firm. So this is where I realized not only was there a lot of stuff going on in money and finance and Wall Street that I wasn't okay with. The bigger story there was I thought that having a good job, having a good education, and having the resume of Goldman Sachs was going to be what brought me security. But that was the wake-up call of, wait a minute, there is no such thing as security, because like Lehman Brothers disappeared overnight, and it just as easily could have been Goldman Sachs. Like it was Lehman, Goldman Sachs, happened to be Lehman that went out. And I was like, wait a minute, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. So I took the leap to be an entrepreneur and say, that's where my security is going to come from. Is I'm not going to have a boss. I'm going to be the boss. So I made that transition, and things went really well. We grew an audit consulting firm where we actually helped companies go public. So we were the interface with the SEC and the investors. Like we were putting all this together to help companies go public. We took about 24 companies public during that time. When I had my second realization, which really led into what I do now, was I was making good money on my resume. Everything was exactly like I was a partner of a firm. We were growing. We were making more money than I ever imagined. But it wasn't until I still remember vividly. I was sitting at my desk, looking outside. It was pitch black. It was like 2 a.m, and I was finishing up client work for the deadline that was coming up the next day. And as I finished it up, I kind of took a breath and thought for a minute and realized that it had been multiple days in a row. Right, this was the 3rd day in a row that I'd been in my chair at 2 a.m. finishing up client work. Not only that, I had left so early the morning before that I didn't get to see. So I hadn't seen my kids in 3 days. I hadn't seen my wife in 3 days. And I sat back and was like, wait a minute, what is all this about? Like my business is now totally and utterly controlling me.
Wow.
And that was kind of the second part of freedom. But I was like, wait a minute. Yes, I need the control and benefit that comes from being an entrepreneur, but I've got to figure out how to also be free from my business. And so that started the personal journey for me into business finance is not personal finance, right? And economics that Wall Street uses is not what is going to put dollars and cents from an investing and a tax standpoint in my own pocket. So that started the path to how do I get free and independent of my business as fast as I possibly can. So that's when I started bringing those two worlds together and put the entrepreneur first. Because I have a business for me, first and foremost. Like I need to make money and I need to have the life that I want. And so I lined all that knowledge up against me as the entrepreneur. How do I structure everything to benefit me and put me in where I need to be? And that process, obviously it took time to enable me to eventually walk away from that firm and start Cashflow Tactics, which is what we do now, and really make all of those lifestyle decisions that allow me to still run it and be involved in an amazing business, but gives me arm's length sort of freedom to balance that, if that makes any sense.
No, it totally does. And it's an awesome story, going from, and just, you have these amazing talents, man. I mean, it's so incredible. Like, you're one of the smartest people I know. And it's super fun to listen to you, and you're a source of gigantic financial education for my wife and I, and my business and all these decisions we make. And it's amazing how eye-opening it's been. Like, wow, I look at the world different. My decisions as a marketer are actually influenced by what you and I have chatted about. The topic of funnels and marketing is giant.
Yeah.
But it's like the same 5 things I see everyone screwing up on. What are the things that you see every entrepreneur, big or small, you're like, I just know this is going to be jacked up because it almost always is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That is such an awesome question because you're right. I've asked you for funnel advice and you've given me being like, Brad, really? Like, come on, it's right there. Don't you see? But yeah, so a couple of things for entrepreneurs, and it's funny because I'm thinking about our conversations. We've had these with you, so don't feel bad. Everybody has them.
Yeah.
One of the big ones is revenue and profit are not the same thing.
Right.
Cash and profit are not the same thing, right? You can have profit and not end up with cash, right? So understanding how to take the numbers that we're running our business with and make them real and tangible. So there's conversations around that, understanding, like I said, the difference between revenue and profit, and how to understand what drives both of those, and then understanding what is profit and what is cash. And that's really what then opens up a conversation for how do we pay the least amount we can in taxes, yet still have money in our bank account. Because unfortunately, most tax advice just requires you to drain your bank account and be poor, which isn't what we want. So separating cash and profit is a powerful piece to it. And then just understanding dashboards, right? Understanding what are the levers that my business are running. So that's kind of one area of a lot of question, that when an entrepreneur comes in and says, hey, can you help me set up my structures or help me invest? Like, yeah, after I know, we dive in and we help you understand what your numbers really are. Because ultimately I can't help you over here unless you're really clear on what your business numbers are. So that's definitely where we get in and clean everybody up initially, is revenue and profit and cash, and then a set of dashboards.
That's awesome.
That's one major element. A second one is there is a huge difference between being an actual investor and being a gambler or a speculator, right? And we're never really told the difference, right? And how we actually understand what investing means, and not what we've been taught, what most employees are taught to do, that again, exiting that world of employee over to entrepreneur and understanding how to be what actual investing entails. Yeah. Yes, not what you think, right? So that'd be the second major one would be that. There's a third one that'll come back to me in a second, but those are two major conversations we have.
It's funny, man, because like people will say that to me about ads. Like, well, this is a huge gamble on the ads. I'm like, you've done all the pieces we've said. Like, it's not a gamble. You're playing the game. This is what's supposed to happen. It's really interesting.
And then I guess the last one I kind of talk about is just this, we call it the iceberg principle, but everybody wants to like look at that part that sits above the water, right? That we can all see. But really 90% of investing and wealth creation is what sits below the surface. So we ask, I want you to upgrade your question. Don't ask like, what are the rich doing with their money? Instead, ask, what did the rich do to get their money in the first place? Like, that's the question that we want to answer, right? I don't care what Bill Gates does with his money today. When I have $1 billion, maybe I'll ask those questions, but I don't. So what did he do in my stage to get there, right? Those are the questions that we look in and really answer. And so it's a question of, do I understand what's going on? How do I first keep the money I'm making rather than, keep the money that I'm making first, and then understanding what true investing looks like. Those are the main conversations we have.
I love that. Yeah, because we're all in different stages as entrepreneurs, but I think too many times we'll look at other people and say, well, so-and-so did this. You're like, yeah, but so-and-so is running $1 billion enterprise, you know? And that's not,
Harvard endowment fund just did this or that. Like, who cares? You're not $1 billion endowment fund, so what do you care?
Yeah, who cares? But that's where they're putting their cash, like, for a totally different reason, right? Or that's where they're getting their traffic. I'm like, anyway. They're selling Beanie Babies.
But it's so crazy because like truth is truth, right? A lot of the same mistakes people are making on the marketing side that you're dealing with every day, it's the same set of underlying assumptions of, well, that guy's doing it, so I should too. Well, no, right? Totally right. Like, we're not asking the right question. That's so much of the problem. Would you agree with that? Like, if we ask and like correctly identify the problem and then ask the right questions, the solution becomes easy. And that's so much of the time that we spend on the money side diagnosing the same things you are, just different outcome.
Yeah, I find it's harder to actually figure out what question to be pursuing rather than actually find the answer. That's really interesting. So, okay, so I sat next to the man for a while, and I would watch him, and we'd set up all these funnels. Sales funnel rater, we set up the funnels, we set up all this marketing, we put all these pieces together, and I watch how they would treat the cash. And it's not like I wasn't sitting around like going, oh, what are they saying? But, it was easy to observe it. Like, there was a pre-created strategy that the majority of, that they had. And the cash would come in, it would break even all these ad costs. They'd go and they'd upsell people. Then they'd actually take profit for the business, and then it'd go in and fill their pockets, which is great. And it was a really cool front row seat to a lot of that. What is it that you think, like, let's take an entrepreneur who is around the $1 million range. What are some of the places they should do what are things they should do with their cash?
It's kind of funny you picked the $1 million range because what we harp on so many entrepreneurs, it's not a hard, fast rule because, again, profit is different than revenue, right? So if we're making enough profit, there are levers we can pull. But certainly up to $250,000, my answer is just keep figuring out how to make more money.
Let's just make it.
It's too easy to make $250,000 today. I know that might blow some people's minds that are reading, but it really, it's too easy to make $250,000 to $1 million that if you're not doing that, stop trying to do anything after that, like invest in the right vehicles or this, that, and just take all your money and figure out how to make that kind of money.
Just bring more cash.
Okay, just bring more in, right? And then we'll deal with, don't fall for the $10,000, $15,000 packages of protection because you have nothing to protect, right? And you don't have enough money to invest to make a difference. So let's just start there and just say you need to be making, depending on your business and profitability model, you need making $250,000 or more. Fair?
Yeah.
Cool. Sorry, what was the question you asked?
And then after that point, though, like, what would you suggest maybe someone start doing?
So the first thing to do, I usually keep a dollar bill here for emphasis, and my kids must have stolen.
On your board?
Again, right here.
Yeah.
That $20 bill, because I use this for other things, but this $20 bill, the $20 bill that you have in your wallet is the most expensive money you have in your life. Because what did it take to get this $20? You had to launch funnels and promote and have ad spend, and then you had to break even, and then you had to upsell them to actually make a profit. And then you had to pay all your vendors, and you had to pay all your employees. And then after all of that happened, you had to write Uncle Sam his check. And then after all of that happened, your wife wanted to spend money, and you had to eat and put gas in your car and make your mortgage payment and live your lifestyle. And then there was money left over to be in your wallet, right? Once entrepreneurs get good at making money, it's easier for them to just say, oh, if I want something, I'm going to make more money. Instead of trying to keep a little bit of the most expensive money. If I can help you keep an extra dollar, for most entrepreneurs, that's 5 to 10 on the top line.
Interesting.
So it's getting a focus of how do I keep the money that's coming in?
Huh.
And so it's this conversation, and Stephen, you and I had it, is how do we bridge, like, the business becomes this snot-nosed, whiny baby that just cries until it gets what it wants. Agreed?
Yeah.
And we have to do a lot of work of separating the entrepreneur from their business so that they can discipline their business and give them what they want. So it's this bridge between understanding how your business needs to operate and how you're going to operate independent of that. And so it's teaching, it's a blend of this metrics idea of how do we then reverse engineer the profitability and the cash that we want in the business owner's pocket. And until we think through that process, we're always going to be robbing Peter to pay Paul. And I think entrepreneurs have been through this. Like, they'll go sacrificing, making sure the business grows, going without until it just teeter-totters.
Yeah.
And just spend a bunch on the other side. And every time they're spending, they're worried about, is there going to be enough for my business? And then every time they're actually reinvesting in their business, they're like, this sucks because I don't know when I'm ever going to benefit from this. And so it's simple. It's a process. There's a formula to understand how to live our life and build our own wealth while not taking from or at the detriment of our business growth. And how do we balance those two things? Because unfortunately, too many business owners, they get lazy once they start making money. In that, when I didn't have any money, I had to put my thinking cap on and be an entrepreneur and just figure out how to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Does not having money ever stop you from what you want to do? No,
you figured it out.
No, we just figured it out, right?
Yeah.
But once you have money, then you let the dollar solve the problem instead. And you're just like, oh, I can't do that in my personal life because my business needs the money. Well, how is that? Like, that's just lazy rather than saying, what if I didn't have the money, how would I solve it? Or I'm paying myself this much because I'm demanding it. And then how do I create that problem so I can solve it rather than just papering over it with, there's money in the bank account, so I'm going to spend it. Does that make sense?
It does. And that's one of the major things I learned from you was taking it's like basically how to define the relationship with me and the business, not just as the CEO hat, which is what I studied and was focusing on like crazy and learning from guys like Alex Sharfin, things like that. And then you took it to this other level. It's like, now let's talk about you as just a human and your family needs compared to the actual business needs. And like, it was nuts to see how that worked. And like the security that came from that was just astounding.
And so everybody says like, oh, like what entity do I need? Or how do I do dude, that comes after we set up what we call a game plan. And we start to figure out where you are, where do you want to go? And then depending on that gap, we set in the things that we need in order to get us there. So that's all that that's really the most impactful thing I could ever do for somebody is connect these conversations, and then the tools and the tactics, like that becomes a lot easier once we have a game plan. And that's the most impactful thing I could ever do for somebody is create that, give them a very clear step-by-step roadmap, because we're all entrepreneurs. Once we have a target, it's just a matter of time we're going to hit it.
I'm going to do it.
It's setting up the right target.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then having clarity in where you are in relation to the target. Yeah.
And as embarrassing as that sometimes feels, like that's just being honest with where things are at and how we feel and what frustrates us. Like there was a lot, not just you, but every entrepreneur I work with, who really unpack that. Like, how are we feeling? What's causing us to not feel secure, or all of there's a lot to unpack there. And then we can line up the roadmap and we go from there.
Interesting. Now, everybody, just so you know, like, you can obviously see that Brad is just this fountain of knowledge, and it's so incredible, and it's super exciting to have you on here. Guys, I asked Brad to come speak at OfferMind. Day one is all about, it's my offer creation formula, because OfferMind. But y'all know, I mean, we're in the capitalist picture right now. Like, it's for the purpose of profit, and it's for the purpose of doing things in your life that you wanted to do with relation to these structures that Brad teaches. And so what I asked Brad to come in and teach about is more about personal cash flow tactics. And his actual business is called Cashflow Tactics.
Marketing is fun. We hit it on the head.
Yeah. Super fun. So could you just give a little really briefly, what are you going to talk about at OfferMind? Yeah.
Can I plug your event first?
Yeah.
Mostly. Okay, guys. So I've known Stephen for 4 years. I've been in Russell's Inner Circle. We met there. And I think we both had this little relationship like, oh, that's Stephen. I can't go talk to Stephen. And Stephen was like, that's Brad and Ryan. I can't
go talk to Brad.
Like,
exactly.
We talked for like 2 years. It was that like, like you and I also like, we got over that. And then we became really good friends. But what I struggled with, even being surrounded by 100 of I think some of the top marketers in the space for the last 4 years, what we struggled with for literally 2.5 to 3 years was our offer. I had all the front-end tactics and strategies. I had all of this, but I could not figure out how to talk to the market, like how to once I got someone in front, I could melt your face. I could take you down a rabbit hole. But when somebody said, well, how do I work with you? That's where it was like, I don't really know. I need to get in. And that held us back for so long. But literally, this is what happened. We spent some time with Stephen. We spent some time with a couple of other people. And it was like flipping a light switch. We figured out what our offer was, how to put it together, how to communicate it to the marketplace in April. We took everything down, took 2 months to put it together, launched it in June. And from June to February, we hit the 10X award.
You did $10 million.
In whatever that is, 8 months. Because we got the offer right. I had all the knowledge. I'd stored it all up. We had all the delivery. We had the team. We had everything, but just could not get any traction. And so that's why like we get asked to speak in a lot of places, as you might imagine. And we have to say no, because I've got 5 kids that I really like spending time with. And so I'm going to spend a lot of time with them. But one event I said, absolutely, I'll come speak at is OfferMind, because just how powerful it is to conceive around the offer. To us, it linked from the offer, it linked forward into the marketplace, and it linked backwards into how we grow our company. Like that was a center point.
Dude, that's awesome. Thank you.
If anyone's on the edge and thinks they might need it, like that's where we were stuck. And it totally transformed. And I was wishing like somebody should put an event together, teach me how to do this. And then even did that. So
that's awesome, man.
What are we going to talk about? We are going to talk about, so you're going to hear in day one from Stephen, and then you're going to hear from his other coaches, all of these models of how a business can create cash flow, right? Whether it's marketing, whether it's speaking, whether it's whatever those models are, they're going to bring cash into the business. What I'm going to talk about is what do you do personally as an entrepreneur to then take that cash and make it work for you forevermore and bring cash into your own life personally. Okay. And kind of an idea behind this, because think about this. There's this concept that I like to call entrepreneurs were hunted by a wolf we can't see, right? No matter how much money we can make from stage, no matter how much money we can make on a webinar, no matter how much we have coming in the door, our business has what we call a half-life. And if we stop paying attention to it, it will slowly degrade. No matter how good we are, it has to be actively maintained. And that's the pressure, that's the wolf that's hunting you. Yeah. Unless you get up and push forward and innovate and ensure that things move forward, you know that no matter how good these cash flow models you have on the front end, that they're dependent upon you. What we try to do is we try to push that wolf off by creating cash flow models that do not rely on you as the business owner anymore. And like in my case, I have well over $10,000 a month that comes in, 100% independent of my business before I wake up in the morning in such a way, we call it leveraged income, because there's no such thing as passive income. It doesn't exist. It's a myth. It's a lie. We call it leveraged income in that it does not rely on you, your asset of you as the business owner, you as the attractive character, you as the one to center your business, right?
Yeah.
And if we can bridge that, and our whole model is no matter where you start, we can get you there in 10 years or less. So we're going to marry that cash flow model up to the ones you're going to learn on day one and parts of day two, so that we have the outcome that we all really want in business, which is true financial security. And that only comes about if we can have ourselves removed from that equation. Our business funds this model, and then now we are not necessary. That's where true financial freedom comes from. That's the model that we're going to share at OfferMind. Or at OfferMind, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So you're saying it's pretty awesome. I mean, it's life-changing, man. And the stuff that I've learned from you guys is just incredible. And I'm already kind of a geek like that. It's like my side geek, like we all geek on one thing, but we like follow rabbits everywhere. I listen to tons of finance books. I love that stuff. Financial econ was the major I almost went into. And then it was like, it's like 50 years of knowledge just in this little contrite, like 3-hour thing that you guys took me through. Has been amazing. So guys, come to OfferMind, and come learn this stuff from Brad. Anyway, thanks for taking the time to do this, man.
Hey, thanks for having me. Like I said, I come to OfferMind for what Steven teaches and then stay for what I'm going to teach because it's going to be awesome. But really it's make money first and foremost, right? Come learn. It's just too easy in today's day and age to just be a capitalist pig and unashamedly just make a bunch of money. And then, like I said, our mission is to help you keep more of that money and grow it to provide that ultimate financial security.
It's interesting moving down this road. And I know you've seen tons of it, way more than I have. Just watching a lot of friends and peers and such like that. They'll make this money. They do all the studying. They figure out how to make cash, which is awesome. Its own skill set. And then they struggle financially for like every single year, the rest of their life. And you're like, what are they doing versus the people that it's crazy.
You triggered when you asked me what's like one of the main things that you touch on, that the myth that everybody, the one I was left and that came back to me was what you're just saying. The skill set required to make money is fundamentally different than the skill set required to keep it and grow it.
Yeah.
It's almost an opposite skill set. And what most people don't know is most 2 Comma Club award winners, most people with these big businesses, they're really struggling on the personal side of it. They've got the skill set to bring the cash in, but it is not a skill set that translates. Yeah. But it's learnable. And if you're working with somebody who is an actual entrepreneur who actually does it in their own life like we do, it can be pretty simple. And so that's, you hit that now. I'm glad you brought that back up because I forgot, they are 2 fundamentally different skill sets. So get the skill set to make it, and then we need the skill set to keep it and grow it.
Totally. Yeah. And with that plan that you've helped me create, I have confidence in what I go make because I know there's a plan for it. And then it's like it reignited the fuel. Because after a while I was like, all right, let's launch something again. Let's send more ads. I was like, why? It's like, oh, this other piece that you brought in. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
And we've actually worked with a lot of entrepreneurs that have intentionally or even subconsciously stopped growing their business because of all the uncertainty on the other side of it. That it was self-sabotaging. They didn't want or couldn't grow because of that bottleneck and that breaking point. And then back to like, gosh, there's so many people that they make the money so fast, they've not built those other skill sets. It's kind of like the NBA player syndrome, right? Where you get this huge signing bonus and you make money for a little while, but like 9 out of 10 NBA players, when they leave there, and they're broke because they don't have that skill set. They step into money so quickly. And it's that same idea that we're just trying to teach and lay those foundations so that your financial IQ rises with your business acumen. And again, it just allows us to keep and grow what we're making, because that's what it's after anyway. Too Comical rewards are fun and exciting, and revenue is super sexy. But guys, really the thing that makes you sleep at night and the thing that really brings that level of certainty is, am I able to keep it?
You guys notice, I've had actually about 4 or 5 people in the last little bit reach out and say, Stephen, you look physically different. I'm more rested, my friends. It's a lot of the stuff you're talking about. And the answer is not a dumb Dave Ramsey, live on beans till you die thing. That is not all what Brad's talking about here. And how many times did I tell you, Stephen, like, stop doing those things. Like, stop trying to be good at investing. Stop trying, because your skill set's here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was huge. Like, and by the way, it's not about living on carrots. It's totally the opposite, actually. There's just a plan for it. And it was so like, breath of fresh air. So anyway, it's super fun.
Very good.
Well, hey guys, thank you so much. Brad, where can people follow you?
So actually the best place, because obviously on a podcast, like we skip a rock and it skips over the surface of all these concepts. Like I got to bring up all these different ways to think. Where we start breaking that down is actually on YouTube. That's probably the best place where we get 5 to 15 minute clips of starting to go into detail of what these concepts are. So if you want to start poking around and say, what the heck is he talking about when he says money, profit is not cash, go to our YouTube channel and start hunting and digging around and geeking out there. I promise it's not overwhelming and it's totally consumable, because I study from guys like Stephen, who helps me break down my spreadsheets into like real examples that are understandable. That really is the best places to follow us there. And then we're on the main things like Twitter, Face, or Insta tweets or whatever, Facebook and Instagram. I don't do a lot of the social media stuff, but Facebook and Instagram, we're there as well. But if you want more information, start on YouTube, and then you can always follow what we put out on Instagram and Facebook.
It's awesome. Hey guys, go check out Cashflow Tactics on YouTube, and go to offermind.com and grab your ticket.
Do that first and then come to YouTube. So go to Offermind and get your tickets, then come to my YouTube channel and geek out about how to keep all the money Stephen's going to teach you how to make here in a couple of months.
Yeah. That's awesome. Brad, thanks so much for taking